The world was not expecting this, but it seems the end of Ginny and Georgia is here everyone. Before diving into the video, comment the keywords displayed further on in the video for a chance to win the latest iPhone. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stick around to the end to hear something shocking. Ginny and Georgia is an hour-long drama about a woman named Georgia, Brienne Howie, with a checkered past and 2 kids, who moves to an affluent suburban community in Massachusetts for a fresh start. Her daughter, Ginny, Antonia Gentry, was born when Georgia was only 15, and the Gilmore Girls' mom and daughter are more like sisters. Impression is palpable. It also seems purposeful, given the double G hint of the title, and the quirky town setting. The Gilmore Girls comparison is obvious, and Ginny and Georgia invites it readily, but that reference point is merely one layer of what Ginny and Georgia is doing. To call it a Gilmore knockoff, would be like trying to describe trash can nachos by saying, oh yeah, they're like most nachos you'd make for yourself on a typical day, because Ginny and Georgia has so much more going on than just the tense dynamics between a mother and daughter, who are unusually close in age. As the show starts digging into Georgia's past, which includes a smorgasbord of illegal activity, Georgia also starts covering her tracks in the present, and the show becomes a crime drama. When Ginny starts making friends at her new school, the show shifts into light teen drama mode, but when they party pretty hard and Ginny engages in some frightening self-harm, the teen drama becomes much darker. Georgia starts working for the town's mayor, Scott Porter, and in those portions the series shifts more into a local political dramedy. Throughout it all, the series is heavily influenced by who among the several love interests Ginny and Georgia are most drawn to, and in those sections it's comedy, with a strong dash of brooding romance. Oh, and also, Ginny has a younger brother named Austin who is sometimes an adorable, socially anxious Harry Potter fan and is sometimes frighteningly comfortable with violent behavior. So it's not just Gilmore Girls, it's also Dare Me, Euphoria, Weeds, Sneaky Pete, Mom, Desperate Housewives, and How to Get Away with Murder, with a hit of We Need to Talk About Kevin and a reverse Heart of Dixie twist. Describing a TV show via comparison with all the other shows it's most like is lazy, and it tends to underplay what's most interesting and unique about a new series. It's a shorthand way to illustrate familiar things. In Ginny and Georgia's case, describing it by way of other TV shows feels inevitable, because the show does many things well, but is not great at sewing all those parts together into one big consistent world. It's almost impossible to know what kind of a show it's going to be from scene to scene. Will this next part with Georgia be more mom trying to be wholesome but failing, or will it be more mom who doesn't care at all about wholesomeness because she's engaging in embezzlement right now? Is the tone of this town council meeting going to be these suburban citizens are lovable kooks, or will it be this is soul-killing and dull? It's a wild and unpredictable mixture of so many genres and tones that watching it often feels like being shuttled from one TV show into another, with little warning and less explanation. It feels like a Frankenstein's monster of so many other things, and if you look closely you can still see where all the individual parts came from. It's an uneven and overlong show that shambles toward the last episode in fits and starts. And yet, if you ignore the large-scale structural problems and the question of why this tower of nachos had to be built in a can so big with so many different cheeses, Ginny and Georgia offers plenty of narrative threads to pull you along through the season. Ginny and the 3 other girls in her tight-knit friend group, Sarah Wasteglass as Max, Katie Douglas as Abby, and Chelsea Clark as Nora, are their own little engine of solidly firing school drama. They hang out and fall out and make up and betray one another with a rhythm that's more regular and plausible than most other parts of the series. There are mesmerizing little snatches where Ginny just sits in her bedroom texting all her friends. The screen is a flood of incoming messages into the group chat and then a simultaneous onslaught of texts where Ginny tries to analyze what's going on in one-on-one sidebar conversations. The group partying scenes and inevitable precursor and follow-up group argument scenes are the show's most reliably compelling writing, especially when it folds in Ginny's discomfort with being the one black kid in the group, or one of the other girls' anxieties about their home lives. Ginny and Georgia's everything all the time impulse works best in the high school context, where it makes sense for a passel of teenagers to be overwhelmed by a dozen different sources of sexual, emotional, and social tension, and to feel highly attuned to them at all times. The series also puts the most loving energy into its high school tropes: the big school sleepover event, college application anxiety, the terrible racist teacher, the cliques. Some fan finds it pleasing to see hot neighbor with floppy dark hair who's not your boyfriend but climbs into your bedroom window to make banners sometimes. It's also easiest to feel for Ginny. She makes some terrible decisions and she's sometimes cruel, but she has the most compelling motives for her behavior, and she's at the center of the show's best stories about friendship, sex, class, and race. The Georgia side of the equation is much wobblier. She is a character who's constantly fending off accusations that she is a bad mother, either explicit ones from the fellow town mothers, or implicit ones from some of her love interests, her children, figures from her past. And the thing is, she is often a bad mother. For instance, she does quite a bit of crime. There's a whole arc with Austin that involves him stabbing a classmate, and Georgia barely notices. She hides things from Ginny in the name of protecting her, and that backfires about 7 different ways. But the show can't decide whether it's on Georgia's side or not, or whether she's supposed to be a Breaking Bad type villain who we sympathize with even when we shouldn't. The feeling changes dramatically depending what mode the show is in, and who George is harming in the name of saving her family. By the end of the season, it's fairly obvious that Georgia's got some real problems. It's much less obvious whether Ginny and Georgia wants us to hold them against her. Mr. Fieri made those trash can nachos because there was a market for them, and even for someone who doesn't love the entire presentation, there's probably going to be at least some part of those nachos that tastes good. That's true for Ginny and Georgia. The whole package may be dubiously conceived and overstuffed, but there's enough going on that some of it can't help but work. One believes the series is officially cancelled because Taylor Swift fans are in uproar after Ginny and Georgia included a sexist joke about the pop star. In the final episode of the first series, teenager Ginny Miller and her mother Georgia are arguing about her relationships. During the row, Georgia assumes Ginny has broken up with her boyfriend, Hunter, to which Ginny retorts, "What do you care? You go through men faster than Taylor Swift." On social media, fans condemned the show's writers for using a tired trope about Swift, whose relationships have been the subject of public scrutiny for years. A similar joke featured in another Netflix original, Degrassi, Next Class, where a character claimed Taylor Swift made an entire career off her exes. Some fans accused Netflix of deliberately trying to rile them up in order to bump their ratings, while others said it was a straightforward case of misogyny. "It's not sitting right with me. Netflix has 2 Taylor Swift projects on their platform and they are okay with treating her like this. Respect Taylor Swift," one fan wrote. Swift, who has been in a relationship with actor Joe Alwyn since 2017, has addressed how the media discusses her relationships and her art on several occasions in the past. Speaking to Maxim in 2015, she pointed out that a man writing about his feelings might be deemed brave, while a woman doing the same was oversharing. In an interview with Australian radio station Today from the previous year, she hit back at the claim that she only writes songs about her ex-partners. "No one says that about Ed Sheeran. No one says that about Bruno Mars," she said. "Frankly, that is a very sexist angle to take." She added, "I have a really strict personal policy that I never name names. So anybody saying that a song is about a specific person is purely speculating." And that's it for today's video. Comment your thoughts about Ginny and Georgia. Be sure to like and subscribe. In the meanwhile, check out one of the amazing videos on your screen.